Welcome to another episode of Is It Finally Worth Playing? A series where I review games with troubled launches after months or years of patches, updates, and price drops. Let's start with the patches. The Callisto protocol had serious performance issues at launch that have since been fixed on all platforms, along with combat improvements, performance and stability fixes, and general quality of life changes. The latest update has also added hardcore mode, dismemberment mode, and new game plus. This game also has a decent amount of DLC, but this video is solely focusing on the base game. With that out of the way, as always, for full transparency, I'm going to start with the bad. There are numerous design issues with this game. For example, there is no map or option to change your control layout. It's so easy to get lost in this game because the dark, scary environments you're constantly placed in are very similar in appearance and extremely disorienting. This game desperately needed a map to make navigation easier. The control layout is also a major problem. Dodging and blocking are all tied directly to the same analog stick as movement. On lower difficulties, this isn't a major annoyance, but late game and harder difficulties really highlight how bad the controls are. It's so easy to get trapped in a loop dodge animation as enemies surround you and you're locked in place, forced to choose between blocking or moving and taking damage, or continuing to dodge trying to wait for the right moment that may never present itself. What makes this all even worse is you're not capable of dodging grabs or projectile attacks at any point in this game, so you're constantly getting grabbed and hit from off screen while engaging other enemies in melee combat. This, along with the occasional bad camera angles, all make this easily one of the worst things about this game. The camera system here has a tendency to zoom in and focus on whoever you're engaging in melee combat, and you basically cannot see anything around you or behind you directly. So it is so easy for you to get hit by enemies off screen. I never felt comfortable fighting multiple enemies in this game. Now, on the lower difficulties and early game, the enemies will line up and wait their turn, but as you get deeper into the game, they begin to attack you off screen. Oversaturation is another big issue with this game. It paints the perfect picture for a horror setting, but then it proceeds to continuously expose you to it. The jump scares, the lighting, the mutants, and the combat itself all magnify this issue. I expected there to be more enemies that I had to keep at a distance, but the bulk of the enemies you fight in this game are all in close quarters combat, and there are numerous combat sections. After a few hours, I just wasn't really scared or even bothered by the death animations or the mutants themselves, because I became desensitized to the repetition of the encounters. In the course of 5 minutes here, I was subjected to the exact same jump scare 2 to 3 times. All this made me enjoy the few on the rail sections simply because of the lack of variety present in the rest of the game. The pacing here is lagging and feels severely outdated, with tons of backtracking and needless repetition. I lost count of how many times this game forces you to backtrack for fuses, and this is really a massive problem with the first half of the game. It is a very slow, tedious, repetitive process. On top of all this, you are given a very limited selection of weapons for the entire first half of the game, and this just helps to further highlight all the problems I listed above. What makes this even worse is there simply isn't much variety present in the melee combat either. Even after upgrading, the bulk of the combat experience largely remains the same. Aside from the addition of a heavy attack, blocking, counter attack, and a few new animations, it never gets much deeper than its initial introduction. Now let's talk about some of the things I actually enjoyed about this game. The graphics are phenomenal. I'm genuinely impressed with the overall level of presentation they were able to achieve here. The minimalistic HUD is perfectly implemented and is one of the best ones I've ever experienced. I honestly couldn't tell the difference between the cutscenes and gameplay at times, as the two blended together seamlessly. Everything looks and sounds great, along with a competent, compelling story, solid writing, and great voice acting. I also really enjoy using the grip with the environmental hazards, and aside from the issues I listed previously, I enjoy the combat despite its problems. The aiming and shooting feel fine, and the general idea of melding the shooting, melee, and grip together create a unique experience that gives this game its own identity. You're also able to upgrade each of these with credits at the Reforge. I also enjoyed the last 30% of this game far more than I did the first half. The pacing gradually improves, and there is a better variety of locations and weapons that are strangely absent from the first 70% of the game. On top of all this, the flexibility of the combat system allowed me to mainly use the guns and grip over the melee combat. If more of the game had been like this, I would have enjoyed it far, far more than I did. It's actually very weird how they structured this game. In closing, I feel like you spend the bulk of this game in the absolute worst location with a very limited number of items and weapons for no real reason. I genuinely thought that you only had one gun because that's how long you spend with just the hand cannon. It's very weird how they structure this game because they subject you to so much repetition and backtracking for no real reason. I feel like they easily could have paced this better. I feel like they should have shortened the beginning and elongated the end, and we would have gotten an altogether better experience. I think one of the main reasons I'm being so hard on this game is the fact that it draws direct comparisons to games like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space, while simultaneously being vastly inferior to both games from a gameplay standpoint. The fact that both these games have quality remasters also is the main reason I'm only recommending this at a specific price. I got this for $4 and I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. At full price, I cannot recommend this game at all, and my score would be significantly lower. I want to say, like, if you can find this game for $10 or less, go for it. But honestly, I feel like $15 would be too much. If you enjoy horror games, it's a decent experience that could be worth your time for the right price. This game is only 8 hours too. That's another knock against it. I don't really feel like there's much reason to come back and do this all over again, especially too with the way it's structured. If the game had have been like the last 30%, if the whole game had have been that enjoyable, I could actually give it points for having New Game Plus and a hardcore mode and dismemberment mode. But honestly, I have no real desire to go back through this game and do any of this all over again. Well, anyway, though, that's just my opinion, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Thank y'all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I will be back with another one. Peace.